Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're back in Finland with Juho from Camera Rescue, and the 2020 is coming to an end. And when Camera Rescue started, at least when we all catched eye on the project, it was because they were aiming to rescue and put in new hands 100,000 cameras. So we're here to kind of speak about the failures and the goals of Camera Rescue throughout the years, how things have been going as planned and as not planned. So Juho, tell me a little bit of how did it all start?
It all started in 2017. Essentially, we had already met that 2016 in Photokina, and before that there was only a shop in Finland. In Finland it's Kameratori nowadays, known in the world as camera store, but it was just like any other shop, buying and selling, and very little condition checking and everything that involved that. And then there was the whole save analog cameras, and to summarize that part, we ended up by the end of 2017 when Finland was doing 100 years, or like 100 years of independency. We thought that 100,000 cameras by 2020 would sound something like a goal that's big enough to be noticed. And we weren't planning on doing it by ourselves, and hence like the Finnish community. So hence we created a Camera Rescue project to take the know-how, to take things global, so that it would be a global challenge, or at least a European challenge, to get that 100,000 cameras into new hands. But then we had several obstacles.
Yeah, throughout the years we've been seeing different approaches, different campaigns. The Save Analog Cameras was the first main campaign that I think everybody noticed and saw. And one of the things that you've been trying to do, and we've been speaking behind the scenes, of course, about the approaches of Camera Rescue as a mission. One thing to be very secure about is Camera Rescue is a different operation than Camera Store. They work together as client, association, like you're basically affiliated, but you're looking for other stores. So you have other stores under Camera Rescue also that you're assisting.
Yeah, I mean, the Camera Rescue project, it had essentially a three-tiered plan on how to reach that 100,000 cameras. And the first one was activating the community and activating non-photographers around the world through an app that would help anywhere in the world. You find a camera in an attic, and then you just know that there is this Camera Rescue app, and you take a few photos, and then it goes into the market, and then people bid on it, or the companies bid on it. And in that way, like, everyone would be secure about selling a camera, because what we forget mostly as a community, that we know what a camera is, we know the brand, and just yesterday I was talking with someone for 50 minutes about the Olympia cameras. Everyone in the community knows that they are Olympus cameras, but there are people who do not, they're not photographers, they're not camera people, and that's 98% of humans.
Yeah.
Which means also that because in the 80s and in the 90s, these cameras were the way to make your memories. So everyone had a camera. It also means that most of the cameras are still in the hands of people who do not distinguish between Olympia and Olympus. And we wanted to create an app for that, but it was also our first app. We got some money from the Finnish government, and we got some money from the camera store when it funded or started the project, and we had a certain budget to start to do this app. But we didn't really, we chose the wrong provider, and then we did like we didn't understand how large and how complicated an app grows, even though it does something as simple as that. But there would have been needs for different levels of users and different catalogs of cameras and blah 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 blah. And in the end, we didn't end up like doing the app because, or we tried obviously, but we ran out of money, which kind of deteriorated the whole first part of the plan to get 100,000 cameras.
Yeah.
And to get the community and to get like people in large involved in the rescue process. And then we have the second phase, which was essentially helping companies in Europe to start rescuing cameras. And the idea was that every country in Europe probably has something similar to what we have in Finland. And we thought that, okay, they might be some like elder generations or like companies that been around since, you know, the 80s or 50s or whatever, and we could help them go online, or we could help them, you know, bring it to the community, because there are companies who think that film is, they have a lot of film know-how, but they think that film is going down, 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 down. And it's not because film is going down, but it's because they're not.
Yeah,
you know.
Probably their local market has gone down. They haven't noticed that it's more of a world community nowadays. That's something that we see all day, is that camera stores are losing local customers but gaining non-local customers. And the fact that I'm here in Finland doing an interview with you is the approach of it's a world you know, effort to maintain and shoot film. Is not so much as now I have a group of friends in my town and we all go to the same store. So
yeah, so the second phase of the plan was to help these stores, but there was essentially a few problems again that ended up failing that whole project. The first one was that most of the stores, when we told them about, okay, you get checking equipment and you check if the cameras are actually good, and then if they're not, you fix them, and you change light seals, and you do something that's kind of basic, at least to all of them, but like it's more work. You like the most of them didn't want to do it, because flipping and then doing with the occasional customer complaint or return is much easier than actually knowing what condition they are.
At the end of the day, most camera stores today, and probably in the past, were only buying and selling cameras. There was always a repair place that you would take your cameras that would work with a camera store, which sadly have slowly gone away. But like, I understand that most camera stores still today get a camera on the counter, they try a couple things to see if it's okay. They know the basics, you know, fungus, you know, haze or shutter speeds that are not sticking. Yeah. And then they sell it. If it's okay, they sell it the next minute. Yeah. And the fact that you guys were trying to make them understand that it's okay to sell like that, but there's more of, you know, a gain if you repair and if you know what's going on. Some stores, I guess, are reluctant to change their model.
Yeah, that was something that we found out. We obviously thought that, they would be super enthusiastic about the fact that they can send someone over to be in here and get the know-how and everything. And then, and the other thing was that some of them didn't want to go online. Like, they have had their physical, and the door has been going clink clong, clink clong. Yeah. And that's been their reality for however long they've been in the business, and going online and going so that when you get a camera, the first thing is that you put it online and then you put it in the shelf. It seemed complicated for some people, and like, in the end, we got to partner only with the companies that are modern and in a way like growing online businesses like Nation Photo in France and Carmencita in Spain and Photo Impex in Germany. So we got relationships with these companies and are like partnering them with the rescue mission. So we got somewhere there, but like essentially this the plan's first phase and the second phase were supposed to take care of most of our 100,000 camera goal. And only the phase 3 was supposed to be like a smaller thing.
Yeah, like you were trying to reach a more global effort, or European, because it makes more sense to be, you know, a European affair, to start getting the 100,000. But you found out from what we've been talking previously is that the local has been the one that has done the extra muscle and the extra growth, and that would be Camera Store and a couple other stores that are local.
Yeah, I mean, when we set up the goal, we thought that, okay, we were in 2017. At that point, we had a number from, you know, Camera Store for 7 years, doing 30,000 cameras. So it's, I don't know how many that's per year. Like
that's a lot.
Well, no, it's not that much. It's like
it's a lot for a one store, no big team.
But it was like 4,000 or 5,000 a year, which then scaling to in 3 years we're supposed to do 70,000. It's double the amount in half of the time. So we're not expecting that in Finland we could do it. So we were expecting to do maybe 40,000 maximum in Finland or 30,000, and the rest would be through the app and through the partners and helping them out, and then we would reach 100,000 by the end of 2020. But as plan 1 and 2 failed, we were surprised at that, like plan 3, which is here. We're at physically here. We're in the basement of the Camera Rescue Center, and the third phase was meant for Finland and the Nordics, that we create this center where we get the camera makers from Helsinki, and we get Camera Store to come, and then we get the camera rescue project all under the same roof, and then we get summer interns to learn things, and then we get, you know, the whole process. It was meant, this is an old building with stairs and small rooms and fancy old double doors. So this was never meant to be a kind of factory or something. It was meant to be a training center.
Yeah.
And that was the goal when we set this up in early 2018, so only a bit over 2 years ago. But everything here has been scaling at a speed that we really weren't expecting. And now we've done essentially around 50,000 cameras in here alone during this 2 years. Yeah. So we are reaching at 85,000 cameras in our counter now in just a week or two. So, and there's still 5 months left, so that we have some kind of chance of doing 100,000 cameras, but it's not, we're trying to aim for it, but it's not going to be the end of the world if we don't make it.
Yeah, it was a nice goal to try to aim, and I like the idea that not only was it a goal, of course, of rescuing cameras, but it was of growing the community to create awareness that those cameras that are, because most people don't understand that most cameras are still in people's closets, in people's basements, or people's boxes and grandparents, and those are the cameras that we're trying, or you are trying to take out of that box and put into proper use in a new generation of photographers. One of the main goals that I remember when the campaign started was that you wanted cameras to be available 10 years from now for your children or my children to shoot, or anybody's children.
Yeah, I think like that's the difference between flipping it and actually checking, does it need, like if we look with a decade or a 2-decade kind of perspective into the camera world, then even changing a light seals means that it might be fine in 15 years. But if we don't change light seals, then it will definitely not be fine.
No, yeah, I think the decrease of operational cameras, if you only camera flip, and camera flipping, for those who don't understand what we're meaning, is just buying or finding and selling anytime as soon as possible. Like if you can buy for 5 and sell for 10, that's what people do. And by what you guys are trying to do, by training people and having the camera makers repair and teach new knowledge, or old knowledge to new generations, is to keep that decrease of operational cameras as low as possible. So it's like the curve is slow. Of course, cameras are going to fail because they're very complicated cameras, and electronics are complicated. But you guys are continuously pushing the barrier of trying to fix what was not fixable or not reasonable to fix a couple years ago.
Yeah, and we are also trying to store the ones that are not yet viable for repairs because of the fact that they're too low value at the moment. So we store them for the future, so that one day, once their value grows up, or then there's more repair people available, then they could be repaired. So it's the rescue project has essentially failed in the last 3 years in most of what it's been aiming to do. And we aimed with the rescue project to go global or Europe-wide and help as much as possible, and then have the Finnish side as a kind of separate entity, and the project tries to help everyone. But then the things that we tried to help everyone with, we failed, and then the things that are on the side in Finland seems to have been working surprisingly well. So that's a kind of a dilemma that we are now facing, that we need to the project needs to reinvent itself now that obviously we're reaching the end of 2020. We need to set a new goal anyhow, but we have very little things to we don't know what to do essentially, or we have ideas, but what can we actually do that helps Europe-wide and globally, and that's kind of what we are aiming in this autumn to find out.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is going to be you've tried the app, you've tried the European stores, maybe giving them the know-how of how to repair and checking cameras. Only checking is already a very important thing. And that's failed too. Your local operation in Finland and in this building is working well. Also slowly outgrowing the building. So I think finding the next step for camera rescue and how to help the community in general is going to be very important.
Yeah, I mean, essentially in the spring, we tried to, once we decided that no more app, we are not trying to find more money to waste on this thing that we cannot seem to not be able to get it into a position that it could be useful. We decided to start trying to do educational content, and the aim was to do a basic course online into YouTube to be freely available, and some additional content to be available for purchase. But it was a crowdfunding campaign, and we failed at that too. so now we're essentially, well, you're here, so we can do some of the material during the next few weeks available. But then during this autumn, we'll have to also find what to do in terms of bigger choices, because we are, as you said, we're outgrowing this whole building. So we need to find a new building for camera store and camera makers to keep continuing scaling up their work. So that's a challenge. But then also how to, like, what is the new building? Is it a school that has space for 20
education? I think one of the good things that you guys are trying and maybe failed at the first attempt with crowdfunding is the education part of repairs, and also not even the repairs, just sourcing. Like a lot of people are very interested in getting a local, because cameras are local at the end of the day, and it's a global market, but it's a local sourcing. So I think the fact that maybe you could focus into education and showing how you guys have done it, because as much as people don't understand it, the operation is very big, very successful, as Camera Store is done, and Camera Rescue is a spin-off, let's say, to try to help others. And I think that could be a very good approach, and easier because, you know, video content or courses online are approachable from everywhere. Yeah. It's not so much convincing the old generation, but the new generation to look at cameras with different eyes and see that it's viable to make a living out of cameras.
Yeah, and I mean, it still amazes me every week. Someone called me from a little town up north. It has maybe 8,000 inhabitants or something, and sent me a photo of the local thrift store, and it had, like, I don't know, 50 cameras, not special cameras, nothing, you know, obviously there's no Leica M's in a thrift store in Finland, but like if a small 8,000 city, like 8,000 person city can have a thrift store with a whole thing, it means that pretty much every city in Europe has enough to fill 2, 3, 4 big like, and in that case I would say flipping is not a problem. Like, flipping is a part of the solution, so I don't want to criticize too much flipping, and I don't want to criticize the people that are like one-man shows, finding cameras and doing their best to determine their condition and putting them available online. That's valuable work. The companies I was talking about in Europe are mainly like bigger companies, 5 people things or 15 people things, and those kind of companies, they're more interested in drones than film. So that's why we can find companies to partner up with in Europe, but one-man shows there's a lot of, and I think the important thing for them, for those, is to learn how to know what you're actually finding, and pay the right price for it in terms of, like, if you really do not know if it's working, please do not pay the amount of money that, because it seemingly many cameras work, but when you put them on a tester machine, they actually might not work. So we want to do these videos during the next few weeks that will help the lone camera rescuers around Europe, essentially, to find cameras in their local towns, local whatever, you know, put a sticker on the supermarket wall.
Buy cameras.
Do your own Facebook town group, ask there, and do a little guide for those people, maybe 3-4 videos that will help, I guess, you guys to find cameras and bring them back.
That will be probably on Camera Rescue's YouTube channel, which we'll link below. And you can follow, of course, Camera Rescue on Instagram and Facebook to see what, you know, the ongoing campaigns are doing. So yeah, I think that's a good summary of what's happened throughout these very intense, I would say, 3 years. Because it seems like a short amount of time, but the amount of things that have been happening are big. I think we've seen a very positive market in terms of, like, first time we met was Photokina 2016, and film was something people laughed about on the side. And now Photokina 18, was way more approachable. You can see all the interviews we did with Camera Rescue, and we had a Camera Rescue TV booth and everything with me. Sadly, Photokina 2020 had to be canceled, so that didn't happen. But I think there would have been even more of a positive film world, and actually we're the only ones talking about positive numbers right now in the film or the camera community.
The camera and photography in general are doing bad if you don't count phones. So it's interesting in that the film world is doing so well, and that's what also has kept us so busy in Finland, because all of a sudden there's so much more demand that in 2017 we could also not anticipate probably that Kodak and Fuji both report double-digit growth like every year.
No, new emotions. I mean, everything's been pretty positive, and we actually have every Christmas so far we've been doing a little recap of what's happening. So I'll leave the links to those videos too. So yeah, thanks Juho for explaining a bit more of the Camera Rescue. I think a lot of people know about you, but maybe don't know about all the efforts that have been behind. Of course, some of these efforts have been, a little bit behind the doors because they were waiting to announce the app or waiting to announce collaborations. And as things were slowly fading, it's been more quiet. So it's nice to hear the recap and hopefully, see what's next in the Camera Rescue. So thanks, guys. And if you have any comments or questions, you can leave a link, comment below. Ask Juho on Instagram or through their website. They've got all the emails. And if you know about any cameras or anything like that, it's always good to see people sourcing and rescuing. So thank you, and see you in the next one. Bye.
See you. Bye.